On my mind today, I was thinking about kids, how vulnerable they really are. I was listening to Francis Ngannou talk about his baby died. I thought, God, they are really fragile. And you do really have to look after them and things happen. And then I was on another podcast listening to other things, and I was thinking about raising a kid. What a tough thing that could actually be, in terms of how complicated it actually is. Because it's like you try too hard, the outcome's this. You don't try hard enough, the outcome's this. It swings too much one way and too little the other way. And it's almost like you can't win. That's how I'm thinking about it. I'm almost like, well, what are you meant to do? How are you meant to raise a kid? What are the ways to raise a kid? What are the ways to teach the kid the principles you've learned in life you think are right? And then the issue is, are the principles are they even right to teach others? It's hard. I'm thinking about it, it's hard. You almost got to let life take the kid how it's meant to go. Is there no specific way to raise a child? Have you just got to be the example? And almost, instead of telling them how to be, you've got to show them how you are, and maybe they pick it up if you want to pick it up, or stories. And I think about me growing up, I think a lot of the time the things that made me listen, the things that changed my perspective on things were always stories. Even the stories that I remember today shape and impact me. And telling stories isn't necessarily teaching someone, it's just letting them know what's happened to you. And it kind of links to what I guess I'm doing here, and what I've sort of thought the best way to live life is, to show my life, should I say. And I keep reminding myself it's just to document. And by documenting, you just show your path. And I wonder if that works the same with a child, because there's so many factors. There's so many things you've almost got to teach a kid. There's so many rules to life that you have to tell them and show them and be a certain way in society. And I just wonder how the future in 10 years or whatever, how as a parent I am actually going to be. It does kind of scare me, the effect you can actually have on a human, especially a child, because especially if I think about what my mindset as a child was, you almost adore your parents. You definitely look up to them. There's a lot of responsibility. It's a responsibility on who you are. And I almost feel like before you have kids, you've got to sort out who you are, which is impossible. You're never going to sort out who you are and get yourself 100% right, because it's hard to even see if there's a right way. I guess you've got to implement foundation. And I was thinking about foundations for me. One big foundation, really, I think I unconsciously do. I have good morals. For some reason, I have a conscience that says when you do a bad thing, you shouldn't do that. There's a negative that comes, or you know the good way. You know what you should do. You should open the door for someone. You should say thank you and be nice to people. If I don't do that, I get this guilt. And I wonder how that has been implemented into me. And I wonder how much is genetics and how much is taught. How much do we pass over, and how much do you just let someone be themselves, especially a child? And at what age do you let a child be themselves? Because it's a lot in this world, and it could probably overwhelm a kid. And I guess one other factor that's crucially important is the environment it grows up in. And I think about my environment and how safe of an environment I grew up in. No danger at all. And I grew up sometimes around nature. And I wonder how that impacted me. And I grew up without a phone till I was probably 16. And when I was 16, I had an iPod. And I didn't get a phone until I was 18. Because I was listening to someone talk about it today. They think it should be mandatory that 16 years of age you should get a phone, because previous to all those years, you should be out in the streets, out in the forest, making dens and doing kid stuff. And I guess I did do that. I had a mixture of that and playing video games. I had a real mixture of things in my environment that curated me, that molded me together. And God knows the impact if I had a phone when I was a kid. I couldn't imagine it. And thank God my parents never gave me a phone. But it's one of those things, if you did that today, well, not even when you did that today, I was the only kid that didn't have one. And again, I don't understand why I had the mindset that it didn't bother me. Even as a kid, to stand out like that, it never bothered me that someone took the mick that I didn't have a phone. It never really came up that much. After a few times of being taken the piss out of, it never came up. And I wonder why. Some stuff like that, I don't think I'll ever pinpoint reasons why, and even if I did pinpoint the reasons why they were such good traits and how I got them, even if you found out how to do it, it probably wouldn't work even if you tried pushing it on to a kid, because you can barely teach adults things, never mind children. And I guess children are going to be who they're going to be, and the only thing I worry about is almost trauma or the anger they build up. I've got examples in my life of kids that I know now that lash out and are upset, and I do wonder what is the solution to that. Clearly they've got pent up anger and they don't know how to deal with it. And I hear Joe Rogan talk about getting them into jiu-jitsu or sports, and I completely agree with sports, because me growing up, I was into sports. Sports was my life. Sports is what I thought about all the time. And I wonder if that is a great solution, because it centers your focus. It keeps you occupied almost as a kid. You're also doing things that you love. And I wonder about the balance between having a life that you love and also integrating hard work in there. And at what age do you integrate that? And do you even integrate it? Because, life's going to be hard anyway. You're going to learn a lesson that life's hard and that you need to work hard anyway. I know some people today that still haven't learned that lesson. So I do wonder about how do you implement that? I guess that could probably only be implemented by being an example. How much do you grow up like your parents? And if so, that's the result. You do grow up like your parents. Maybe you don't have anything to worry about. Maybe just focus on being a great person. I can't not see that working. You got two parents who are great people. I can't see, unless some traumatic event happens, I can't see your kid not turning out alright. And that's all you want. You just want your kid to be alright. You just don't want them to be traumatized. You want your kids to be loved. You want anyone in your life to be loved. I just wonder about the complexity to life, and mix that with such a vulnerable child. All children are vulnerable, all people are vulnerable, I guess. And it just makes me curious as to what's actually going to happen in the future. You can't think too much about, because luckily life will distract you from it. Don't worry about that. But you can't think too much about it and you can't get anxious about it and worry about it, because it's completely out of your control. You can do what you can do, and that's about it. And that's how I think of things. It's years down the line anyway. It don't fully matter. It's just one of the things that was, I guess, on my mind today after listening to these podcasts, listening to these grown men talk about it, talk about how excited they are. But I guess they've got years on me. They might have figured a few things out. But yeah, anyway, peace.